As you can see, this is a very different airframe than the one presented in the last video. We have sprouted some vertical surfaces both on the wingtips and in the landing legs. So, why did we do this? As you can see with the video on the screen currently, we had some issues with the aircraft in hover in the roll axis. So I think part of that actually had to do with a pretty heavy crash on the front motors, and I was reusing those motors. Regardless, what we did was we widened the aircraft a little bit to get these motors a little bit further out in roll, and we moved these wingtip motors into where they are no longer at the wingtips to get some of that mass inboard. And then you can see by the video on the screen, it is behaving exceptionally right now. We have winglets now, and they serve a couple of functions. We lost our tip stall prevention that we have when these motors are on the wingtips, so these help a little bit with tip stall prevention. Also, they're just a great place to put antennas. Same thing with the landing legs, so these will be RF transparent on the production model. And this is now also going into CAD. So there was a couple of other tricks that we did on the plane. I need to keep some things secret to keep my advantage. This plane is excellent. I don't believe there is anything on the market that can compete with the efficiency that we are seeing. That is an extremely bold claim. I do think that's where we're at, and we will either prove it or we won't, but we will see quite soon, I think, one way or the other. So I'm exceptionally happy with this airplane. We're going into production hopefully within the next 3 months. I expect in about 3 months to have molds that I have cut for this aircraft myself, and I will do the first couple of layups as I indicated in the last video, just to make sure that everything is translating from this model to the production model before we invest quite heavily in production molds and production techniques, which are going to be different as it's going to be pre-preg instead of, it's going to be a lot more involved, both financially and time. On the maiden flight on this airframe, I was using some chopped down props, and that caused a lot of instability. I will show that here on the screen right now. But just going with unmodified folding props, all of that pretty much went away. This thing handles incredibly, I would say structurally, and with the electronics that we're using, this is the most faith I have ever had in any of the VTOLs that I have made. So we're in a very good place as we move forward into production. I will be changing a couple of the electronics regardless to keep everything NDAA compliant, but also to get as many of the components USA made as possible. Eventually we hope everything will be USA made, but there are some things I can currently do beyond what is in here to get everything USA made. Right now we are considering the Trillium HD40 as the main payload. We will figure out if that's what's going to happen going forward, but also keep in mind this aircraft is relatively payload agnostic. If it fits, it ships. So the customer can really put in anything that they want as long as it fits within size and weight constraints. If we go to a really heavy battery load to get the maximum performance out of this aircraft, we are just slightly going into Group 2. We're actually hitting about 22.5 pounds to get there. That may or may not be important to some customers. For the customers for whom it is important, we can back off on the battery and still get excellent performance and keep it under 20 pounds. Anyhow, that's about it for this overview. The next video will either be me cutting molds or presenting a record attempt that either fails or succeeds one way or another. Aviation is awesome.